Welcome to another exciting episode of Gamezone TV. This is a Dota special. We have Scant, South Africa's most experienced Dota player, and in my opinion, the best Dota player in South Africa, to tell us what are the key tips in Dota 2 to be the best player, and we're also giving away another Dota key, Dota 2 key, for your Dota 2 experience. Hit it.
This is the news on Gamezone TV.
Did you know that 56% of American households own at least one current generation console? That's up 50% from last year. That and a whole bunch more information in an article down below about American facts. Is that interesting to you? Did you know that Mass Effect is coming into an anime form thanks to Studio Funimation? It's going to be focusing around James Vega, one of the new characters in Mass Effect 3. I don't really care much for James. I'm not having a lot of fun. You know, an anime around Liara would have been a lot more interesting. But at least we get to see the Mass Effect universe in animation form. Woo!
I didn't know that.
In South Africa, corner store games, or barber shop games if you're down with the lingo at all, is a big deal in South Africa. That's why I nearly crapped my pants when I saw an article by Zaid Creel about his favorite Bobby Store games. It's gaming South African style, so get your fix in the licks. The Nintendo DS Lite is now retailing at 1,000 Rand. They just had a massive price cut. There are also 10 games that you can buy for 130 Rand. It's going to be quite competitive against the PlayStation Vita at that price. So those prices start today, this Friday. Do you care?
No.
If it had Dota on, would you care?
Yes.
That's right. We are sitting with Ant, or Scant as the local community call him. This is South Africa's most experienced Dota 2 player, as well as the best Dota player in the country, in my opinion. Welcome to the show, Scant.
Hey guys, how you doing?
So Scant, if you're a Dota 2 player, or a Dota player, for that matter of fact, what advice, do you have 5 tips of advice that you can give players to improve their game?
Look, so, I mean, when you first told me about this, I had a few ideas of like what the main thing is to tell someone who's trying to learn to get good at Dota. So to start with, you have to say something about strategy, right? It's a strategy game. So first thing is that strategy can give you a really big upper hand, right? A weaker team can beat a better team who's better, you know, at actually playing the game by thinking of, you know, a more dynamic strategy or one that counters them. But on top of that, what's really important that people always forget is that even though strategy is really important, it's not the most important thing. It's better, you get guys like Artstyle, right, who was the captain of Navi, who won the $1 million at the International last year, who say that strategy doesn't matter at all. I think what people like that mean is that, quite simply, what's more important than what your strategy is that you execute it well, that you understand what it's meant to do, okay? You understand your strategy well, you play it well, it's going to matter more than which one you actually choose. I don't know, a second tip, I'd say, like in all professional sports, like in anything competitive, what you really need to do, what's very important, is you have to practice a lot, you have to put lots and lots of hours into it, and you have to play with people who are better than you, okay? At a certain point you just can't learn anything unless you're playing with people who know more than you. Let's think. Tip number 3, okay, be creative, okay? Very important to be creative. You need to experiment. When you play not so serious games, when you play casual games, even in some competitive games, you need to try things out, learn new things, and be creative. Okay, tip number 4 would follow directly from this, okay? You need to have a critical attitude, okay? So you need to be thinking, what can I learn, okay? Constantly, every time you play a game, try learn something from it, okay? It doesn't help to just experiment if you're not going to do anything with your experimentation. Oftentimes what happens with Dota players who consider themselves to be pro is that if something works, they assume it's because it was a good idea. But that's not necessarily the case. Something can work for all sorts of other coincidental reasons. So you need to really think about, you know, why did this work? Was it a good idea? Okay. And what goes with that is being humble. Okay. A lot of Dota players have problems with ego, problems with maturity. Okay. It's very important to recognize that we all have stuff to learn. We can all get better. So yeah. So tip number 5. Okay. Which I mean, I think you could say I've left the best for last. And this is really important. And this is a nice thing about Dota because it makes it relevant to everything else you do in the real world. Okay. People often think, you know, you're a Dota player, you know, you're probably quite introverted, you're not going to be able to do stuff with, you know, real life. Well, tip number 5 is that to be a good Dota player, you need to work on communication, okay? You need to be able to interact with other human beings, you need to be able to work with your team, you need to be able to communicate efficiently, okay? Sometimes things happen, there's a lot of fast action in a Dota game, and you need to be able to communicate what your ideas are. If you see something that someone else didn't see, it's so important that you can have constructive communication in your team, and that's something that will work for the rest of your life, right? If you learn to work in a team and to communicate well, okay? And that's very important. I think if you work on all those things, okay, there's a good chance that you're going to become a pro Dota player.
Do you have any words of encouragement that you can give local guys who are just pushing forward and getting their game on?
Yeah, I mean, so particularly for South Africans, we've always had a very big potential pool of players. There's been, I mean, like the Twilight Gaming Server's always had thousands of players, but there's such a minuscule portion of them who are actually taking it seriously, trying to get competitive. And I really think I'd like to encourage more people to get involved, more people to. There's a lot of local events coming up. Also, they can compete on international events, right? Dota 2's well programmed to cater for latencies for South Africans as well. So get in there, take it seriously, and I mean, follow my advice. And I think we could see a lot more talents coming out of the woodwork.
Now it's time for community stuff.
Last week Friday, MWeb launched Mass Effect 3 in Cape Town, and it was a killer. We got to test the multiplayer functionality as well as the Connect functionality of the game. Bianca McFadden from EA South Africa showed face, and we were spoiled well with food and drink. It was great to hang out with a whole bunch of guys from South Africa who are eagerly as keen as I am to take on Shepherd's cause. 4 Elements Gaming and MWeb were at Grand West Arena last week Saturday to celebrate the Ultimate Muay Thai Fighting Championships. It was great. We set up consoles right outside the front door. A whole bunch of guys got to play some Tekken and dabble in some Battlefield 3, and it was cool sharing in that fighting experience. We're doing a lot of stuff for gaming, and I think that's really exciting. Do you have a South African gaming event that we need to know about? All you need to do is email gamesmaster@mweb.com and tell us. We like to share that with the rest of the South African gaming community and unite us, because that's the only way that gaming is actually going to grow in this country. Subscribe, like, Dota Code.